Hello and welcome back to On Air Law, the podcast by and for law students at Universitas Airlangga. I'm your host, Raymond Herlin, and today's episode is truly a special one. We are honored to be joined by a distinguished alumni of the Faculty of Law at Universitas Airlangga, someone whose journey has been nothing short of inspiring. She's not only a high achieving graduate, but also a global advocate for diversity, youth empowerment, and social impact. From her work with the Australian Human Rights Commissions to being a G20 delegate to co founding Bilang Bilang, an initiative supporting inclusive leadership, she exemplifies what it means to use a legal education to create a real world change. Please welcome our guest today, Miss Fia Hamid Walker. Hello, Miss Fia. Thank you so much for being here today with us. And I'm very, very honored to be having the time and the opportunity to have a little discussion with you. So, Miss Fia, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience today?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for inviting me to this podcast. It's very lovely to come back here. In very um unfamiliar places like in back in 20 years ago. This is how old I am. Yeah. So I that was just really nice, lovely introduction of me. I'm not that high achieving, trying to be. So I'm my name is Fia Hamid Walker. I the alumni of FH UNER in from 99 class of 1999. And I have moved to Australia since I graduated from Monash. Sorry, from UNER, and then I went to my undergraduate again at Monash University on scholarships by the Australian government. And yeah, so now since I've been a lawyer in Australia, and then legal advisor for in the Asia Pacific regions on the to strengthening the legal capacity of some human rights institutions in the regions as well. Now I'm a PhD student at Melbourne Law School, where my thesis is examining the international disaster law and the protections of people in the event of disasters, and some theoretical backgrounds on the third world approaches to on international law as well.
Okay, Miss Fia, thank you for the lovely introduction. And maybe it's time for us to dive into your story and take a closer look at your journey from FH UNER and to the global stage.
Yeah.
You've mentioned that you graduated at 1999. You're the 1999 class of FH UNER. So I would like a question like, what's your favorite moment what's your favorite memory from university? Like, do you have something that you kept in your heart, like you remember like it was yesterday? Can you please tell us about it?
Um, I had a lot of great memories here, but I think the most important thing is because I came to university in 1999, and that just after 1998 reformations.
Yeah.
So I was kind of have that residual experience of the activisms post Suharto. And it was the campus life was just really busy and bustling with a lot of discussions and philosophical thoughts and legal philosophy and activisms. Basically, just people were really students and my junior at that time. So I was really lucky at that time that I can observe that kind of energy
Nice.
post the Suharto era. So and that is actually my it's actually it's defining moments in my life in terms of my activism as well, and as well as my career trajectory after that. So I think that was this. Yeah, that's that. I think that's the memories with a lot of the critical of the law students being law students, critical of the government and how the law system works, and that's the amazing part being in in the law school.
I see. So by the time you joined FH UNER at 1999, there was a momentum, right?
Yeah, that's a big one. Yes, yeah, yeah. So that's yeah, I don't know if I'm talking about it, but that's the momentum. And I think and it's also the reason, and that's one particular one. Is it's also the reason why I'm in international law as well, because I think that was in 2003 when there's a invasion of Iraq by the U.S., and that's also a defining moment of my career and academic trajectory to international law.
I see.
So that's particular time I was supported by Pak Dekan. I don't remember, but it was so I was organizing this a talk on the legality of Iraq, U.S. invasion to Iraq, which is it was that we get someone from ICRC came down to Surabaya from Jakarta, as well as someone from Kemenlu as well, and as well as the consulate from the French a consulate in Surabaya came to talk about that, and since then that's where my kind of my interest in international law.
I see. So the international geopolitical state has always amazed you and always.
Yes, exactly.
I
Yeah,
see.
and then also the position Indonesian positions in the international states, and that was always kind of a interest me in that.
I see. I see. Thank you for the lovely answer. And we're still on your journey in the FLNR. Maybe like, was there any lecturer, like the most inspiring lecturer for you or professor back then? Maybe you can tell us about that a bit.
There are a lot. Yeah, it's just the thing again. The context of that particular time is the 1999, just after Reformation. So we have a really, really good lecturers that give us a lot of way of how is it being a critical law student in terms of don't just take in, need to criticizing. So I think Pak Eman, almarhum Pak Eman, he was my my supervisor in my international law thesis. So I actually talk about the defining the state terrorism in international law with Pak Eman, which is interestingly, we just thought like we just thought like because in Indonesia we kind of don't not thinking about it before, but apparently people still thinking about that question. How are we defining terrorism in international law? Because in Melbourne Law School, I have a lot of friends, for example, from Afghanistan, is also questioning the legality of terrorism, is whether it can be extended to non-state actors. Now we can talk about academia, but I think it was Pak Emans that I have been really inspiring. I think I knew him first when he taught agrarian law and then international law, and then since then like I want him to be my supervisor straight away. Yeah.
Okay, like so a question: if you could go back to your university years, like what would you do differently? Is there anything like you would like to change, or maybe an opportunity that you regret that you didn't took?
I think if I go back, I think I should have actually spent more time with engaging with the question of law. I think that particular time I was just a lot of, if I could go back, I would have an independent reading group. So we have, and which is that's the thing that I do in Monash Law School. So we use this in an Ivy League kind of law school. We have actually a reading group where student came to the reading group. It can be organized by faculty or the student self. So if I could go back, I would just organize. Sometimes, to be honest, like sometimes what you've learned is a little bit boring and kind of like it's positivist and that sort of things. And I know that I've learned a lot from. I like philosophy. I like legal philosophy. I like ilmu hukum and all that sort of things. And for me, at that particular time, a lot of students are very political at that particular point. And I like politics, but not in the politics in the way of I want to be in the political party.
The practical way.
Yeah. So I've always wanted to actually go to international law and politics in a way, with that politics in very discursive way. So I actually, I didn't spend that much time in law faculty because I just feel like we only have one international law
Mm.
unit at that particular time. I don't
Yeah.
know now. And that's it. Once you finish with that and you finish with that, there's no like continuity in terms of understanding what international law is about. So I actually make friends with friends from FISIP, from international relations, and that's where I actually find a lot of theoretical concept of
Yeah, I
international
see.
law that I was hoping that is actually integrated to the study of international law as jurisdictions, for example.
I see. So the more we discuss with our friends,
Yeah.
the more knowledge we have, right?
Yeah, so that is mostly interdisciplinary things that I could understand. So, and because sometimes I think with the contested uncertain times like now, it is important that we just not knowing just we know the law, especially if you want to go to international law in international state, you need to know something else like what's the theory of international relations, what is having to do with the law, how that law, how that's law created in a way, if is it political, is it colonial, or is it something, so that kind of questions that at that particular time when I was in law school here, it wasn't really that big, but hopefully that you get more kind of variation right now. But I think knowing, understanding, and starting to learn English from start, reading and kind of putting your mind like open-minded, it's really interesting. So so that's the thing. I probably, if I was come back, I probably, that's what I do. That's more like very academic, integrated kind of reading group then.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Via. And you've mentioned earlier also in your introduction about your current career.
Yeah.
Maybe you could tell us more about it, like what career you pursuing and like what subject you're focusing in. Maybe you can tell us about it.
Yeah. So before I came focusing on my PhD, I was working as a lawyer in Australia. So before I can be a lawyer, I actually had to do another law graduate there, and I have another 6 months of practical trainings and all that sort of thing before I can practicing lawyer. And I did that, and for 2 years until I got my practicing certificates, and I just thought like I'm missing Indonesia. I want to do something because I was working in a community center, so it just kind of, so I deal with small cases and all that sort of things, which is fine. People, I love it. I love my clients, and then they like new migrants and refugees and all that sort of people who can speak English who just to settle in Australia and that sort of things, which is great. But I think my fears from law faculty who come who love international law is there, and it was just like I want to go to international law things. So I did my master's is actually not in law. I did my master in development studies, and I work temporarily with the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs in Jakarta Embassy for 6 months. So that is before COVID. And after that, then I just start working with international NGOs like Red Cross and in Australian Engineers Without Border Australia, and then the Asia Pacific Forum for National Institutions. And now I just feel like my academic, I still want to do my PhD. So now I'm more focusing on my PhD so that I can start become a academia in Australia, which is really hard to get and very competitive, and also kind of still wanting to do that, shaping how international law can best serve people in the global south, like Indonesia. Oh, how can we contest international law that is actually serve us as a nation?
I see. It is very inspiring that even though you have a really great career, but you still love to study, like you still want to pursue like PhD, and you really, I can tell that you really love the international law because it's very passionate. I think it's very, very inspiring.
Thank you.
And finally, the last questions, like, do you have any advice that you would give to current law students or young people in general who want to make a difference?
Yeah. So I came back from my victimologist guest lecturing, what I said to the students in that class is that whatever path that you choose out of the law faculty after you graduated, law is very important. I used not to not to see the goodness in it, because like most people in Indonesia, what is the law? You know, it's not working. You know, they just as accessories. That's what I was thinking until I actually moved to Australia, and then I'm studying the Anglo-American civil common law, which is where law is actually, it is frustrating, and it's frustrating for lawyers if you judge lawyers or legal practitioners who really want to make difference and shaping the law. It is frustrating, but it is very strategic and important field of study, because I study in international development, and I think it's law give you a sense of directions of, because you talk about power. You're questioning power, you're questioning politics, you're questioning things, and then that's what you do with the law. So I think what I have said to them is that to have a self-awareness, whatever you go with your degree, is to have a self-awareness, have a reflective about who you are, why you're there, and what you want to do. Because at the end of the day, it is not people who answer your question, it is you to answer your questions. So that is always questioning your motivation and intentions, and being self-aware of who you are and what you do is very important. Because people a lot run away from that questioning themselves. And that's what makes people they don't like to be held accountable by other people, because they don't want to hold themselves accountable themselves. So that is really important, because that's how you grow. Yeah. So don't use, in Indonesia, I know that I have a friend who say that, every criticism is bad. But depending on how you, sometimes it's reasonable, sometimes it's not. And sometimes the way we criticize people is just make people feel like we judge them or like that. At the end of the day, just walk away from that and then think for yourself, is this whether that is, maybe there's something positive in that criticism or not. So that at the end of the day, it is you, not other people's criticism, that control where you're going to go and grow. Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Fia, thank you for the very great advice for all the youngsters out there. Remember what Ms. Fia said, that you have to remember about your motivation in the first place. Why are you here? Why are you studying law? And that what makes you a very accountable person. Okay, thank you, Ms. Fia, once again. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey. As a proud and accomplished graduate of FH UNER, you've shown us that the power of legal knowledge goes far beyond courtrooms.
Yeah.
It can shape communities, influence policy, and change lives. To all our listeners, let this episode be a reminder that you don't need to wait to start to making an impact. Use your time in university to explore, to challenge yourself, and to serve a greater purpose. Thanks again, Ms. Fia, for your time and inspiration. We're so proud to call you one of our own.
Thanks for having me here.
And for everyone listening, don't forget to follow our podcast and stay connected with the Faculty of Law at Universitas Airlangga. Please do follow all of our social medias. Until next time, keep learning, keep leading, and be the voice that makes a difference. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.